So, last night I did a live video regarding some very crucial information that everybody should be aware of, and it's pretty frightening, and I wanted to cover it again because unfortunately there's no way that I know of that I've been able to find to save and keep a live video on Instagram. As far as I know, it's going to be gone within 24 hours, so I figured I will talk about what I shared yesterday in another recording. That way people can have it to share or pass along or do what you will with it. Now, yesterday I found out that the new NAFTA deal that the United States, Canada, and Mexico came to an agreement on over the G20 summit on Friday was, for the most part, good, as I covered on Friday, but I found new information out about that new NAFTA deal, which is called the USMCA. That is, in this deal, in one of the subsections, I believe 230 in Article 19.17, it allows tech companies to legally, without any prosecution, ban harmful or objectionable speech. What that means is if you offend somebody, you can be taken off of tech platforms due to that. The issue is most things that offend people don't offend most other people. Simply put, what may offend you doesn't offend me, and vice versa. I may be sensitive to a certain piece of information that you're not sensitive to. Therefore, it will have no emotional impact on you, negatively or positively. Whereas to me, it does. So, with that being said, how can one effectively ban harmful and objectionable speech when hate in and of itself is subjective? And I also have to add, who gets to decide what's harmful or objectionable? That the only way for it to work without a hitch is to have somebody who is morally perfect and godly, essentially, which there is no human being alive that is either of those two things. Therefore, it's impossible for it to work then. Meaning that your personal biases will lead to certain speech being banned. So this is worrisome. Hopefully this can be ratified before and if it's implemented by Congress. Because if not, then we're just slowly doing away with our First Amendment right, which is a dangerous, dangerous thing. We're the only country that has that right. Even though it's inalienable, it's not man-given, it's God-given. Whether you believe him or not, basically what that means is that you're born with this right. It's not something that's given to you. We believe that in America. We're the only country that believes that. And tech companies are trying to do away with it. Certain politicians are trying to do away with it. Hopefully this can be ratified, as I stated. Another thing that I talked about yesterday on the live video was Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, was awarded a censorship award from the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, I believe is their name. That is equally as egregious. For one, how can Apple have any moral superiority when it comes to talking about what's sinful and what's not? They run sweatshops. They have one of the biggest companies in the world that quite literally have slaves working for them. So they're telling us, he's telling us what's right and what's moral, and excuse me, and that not banning hate speech is a sin, but, you know, having somebody speak out against your company is equally a sin, therefore they're going to die for it or be punished or be terminated. Yeah, so Apple is not somebody to be trusted, although something to be trusted. Although I do have an Apple phone, so I can't really say too much because then I'd be a hypocrite, right? I do want to add one more thing, a couple more things on top of Tim Cook talking about banning hate speech, which once again you have to ask the question, what is hate speech, which hasn't been defined. Second thing you have to ask is who's going to be determining what is hate speech, and if it is a human being or an AI programmed by a human being, it's going to be flawed for sure. So the other two things I wanted to add were that Apple is connected with China with the cloud. So the cloud is seen by the Chinese government. The Chinese government actively spies on their citizens, and everybody in the world knows about it. Well, everybody in the Western world knows about it, at least. They have a social credit system where everything you look, everything you read, everything you eat, everything you purchase is gone through a filter that depending on what it is you watched, saw, bought, ate, drank, read, will positively or negatively affect your credit score. And if you have a bad enough credit score, that will prevent you from traveling to certain cities, getting access to certain transportation, potentially even barring you from leaving the country. So China has found a way to digitally imprison people without the physical barriers of an actual prison. And Apple works with them with providing them with the cloud. And China, as I've covered multiple times in other episodes, is actively spying on the United States, is in our colleges pushing the communist doctrine, is spying on certain companies, technology companies, stealing intellectual property from companies. They're doing all sorts of things that should be stopped right away. And I heard this pretty good analogy, which I don't know why I didn't come to this sooner, even though I knew that it appears that we're in some new Cold War with China, is that China is like the new USSR. The only issue is that Americans were united against the USSR. Right now we're divided. We're at each other's necks. The left is no longer liberal. It's leftist, far extremist. Why is that? Well, I think it has a lot to do with the Chinese government infiltrating our universities and college systems, pushing a false narrative of communism, keeping away the truth. Not all of it is the Chinese government's fault, but a portion of it is definitely due to them. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to share is that Google is also over in China. They have a search engine now, or software called Dragonfly, I believe, which is a censored search engine, so it allows you to see certain things and not others. That's in China. In America, they're talking about implementing a good censorship, so that way certain people will not be affected by it. Those certain people are individuals in power and don't want to be ridiculed for their wrong actions. And another reason they want to do it is to try to copy the European model, which is they choose dignity over free speech. So if you say something that's going to cause an uproar, if you say something that may offend a large portion of the population, regardless of what that may be that you have said, will be banned and can get you in trouble. For instance, over in Europe, they're trying to make it illegal, or it already is illegal, to criticize the Muslim faith in any capacity. which is wrong. You should be able to criticize whatever you want to criticize, because if you're not able to criticize whatever you want to criticize, then they start controlling the way you think. I find it hysterical that we're able to criticize Christians, we're able to criticize Jews, we're able to criticize Catholics, but when it comes to Muslims, we have to bite our tongue because we may offend. Most of our mother freaking country is Christian or Catholic. Most of Europe is Christian or Catholic. But we can say all we want about the Muslim faith. I mean, all we want about the Christian faith and Jewish faith and Catholic faith, but God forbid you say something about Islam. So that's the information I wanted to share. I kind of digressed a little bit at the end, but that's what I talked about yesterday in the live video. I figured it was really important information, so I had to redo it and share it again. That way those who may miss the live video can come back and watch this video and hear the information that I've shared. So hope you all have a wonderful morning, wonderful day. I'll see you again later for my show tonight. So yeah, until then, peace.